Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Our third, final hour today on the Pat Miller program. Jerry Acuff stands by on the Newsmaker line. He is a culture expert, really, for all things that go on in the workplace. He's a speaker, a trainer, a multi-booked author. Some have referred to him as the Dale Carnegie of the 21st century. All that being said, when it comes to the workplace, the guy knows what he's talking about. So let me go to the Newsmaker line, first of all, and bring him up. Jerry, hi. Welcome to the program.
Hey, Pat. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Very glad to have you, sir. You know, on a day when all we're doing is talking about aggression and fighting with each other in Charlottesville, I'm going to talk to you about aggression and fighting with each other in the workplace. That'll be a nice change of pace. But it's kind of interesting reading some things that all of you have come up with. 1/5, 20% of Americans find their workplace hostile or threatening. That really is a high number, isn't it?
It is. I mean, to me, first place, I started my career in Charlottesville and lived there for 6 years. And I live 50 miles from there now.
Is that right?
And it's a wonderful place. It really is. And the university there is incredible. But the truth is, people will always behave badly, number one. Number two, there's people in the world who just don't think right. And, that's a problem. Hostile and threatening environments, I mean, I don't know. There are days when I think my customers are pretty hostile. And I guess, there's days when, like yesterday, when I was renting a car there in Orlando and I had a problem, I wasn't hostile because I know better than to do that. But I can understand why some people feel that way. I think the real challenge here is 40% of the workforce today is millennials. And that number is expected to get to 70% by 2025. Mm-hmm. I think that millennials, in many cases, have baggage that makes hostility maybe even more likely to happen. For example, the average millennial with a college degree, and a third of them, 34% of them have a college degree, has $31,000 in student debt, which is $351 a month for 10 years.
Which is a lot of pressure.
It is. And if you have that pressure, then you're going to be jockeying for position. You want to get advanced faster. You want to get promoted faster. And that may or may not be part of the reason. The larger question to me, though, really is, what does this say about leadership? Mm-hmm. Because if you're a leader and you're allowing these kinds of conditions to exist in your workplace and you're not holding people accountable, then, you're the problem.
With leadership, is it sometimes that you're getting these millennials and some of these people coming out of college? Is it that maybe you're afraid to lead them properly for fear you won't be able to hang on to them and keep them because you think that there's some kind of a commodity you can't do without?
That may be how some people think. It's not how I think, and I spend a lot of time with millennials. I wrote a blog a couple of weeks ago about how millennials are underestimated and undervalued because, I listed 30 of them that I know that are phenomenal workers, and they have the same kind of work ethic that you and I do. And so I think if people feel that, it's a misperception. But all of it speaks to me, which I think is the biggest problem in America, and it speaks to what happened in Charlottesville. We are becoming more and more a society where we do not value understanding others' differences. Mm-hmm. Forget about tolerating their differences. We don't understand differences. And whenever understanding is in short supply, you're almost always going to have friction and trouble. Because whenever you have that kind of lack of understanding, it breeds low self-esteem. It causes me to feel insecure. And Les Giblin said years ago in his book, How You Can Have Confidence and Power in Dealing with People, low self-esteem means friction and trouble.
Yep.
So when you take these people who feel threatened for no good reason other than the fact that they're just, they're really ignorant of the real world, then it creates hostility. And I think some of that happens to a small degree in the workplace. And I think really what's happening is technology, which is how many millennials build relationships, really doesn't lend itself towards the real kinds of human contact necessary to build true and meaningful relationships. And so they don't know how to deal with people as well as others did that are different from us and that may have differences of opinion. And that makes the atmosphere seem more hostile or threatening.
When 55% of the people that were in the survey that was in the article you reference they say they face unpleasant and potentially hazardous conditions in the workplace. Is most of this hostility coming from their peers, or is this coming down on them from people in management or in ownership of the place where they work?
I guess it's all of the above. I mean, first place, when you just simply use a word as nebulous as unpleasant, I mean, who doesn't have an unpleasant day? Heck, almost every day I have something unpleasant happen to me. Mm-hmm. Hazardous, I get on a plane 150,000 miles a year. I get in a car. I mean, those are hazardous things. So I think the wording of some of these questions is a little bit bothersome. I think what is the truth, though, is that we are not creating the kind of work environment that millennials thrive in. And I think part of it is because the Generation Xers and the Boomers have a different perception of what good work looks like in some cases, and we're slow to adapt to this changing way that millennials see work. And now, in my company, I only have 30 employees, but, I had to adapt to that pretty quickly. And if you hang on to the notion that, that your best workers are there 9 to 5 and they're there early and they stay late, you're probably going to be disappointed, because the millennials will work harder and longer than everybody else, but they don't want to do it in an office. Mm-hmm. And so if you don't give them some degree of flexibility, then they are going to feel that environment is not conducive to their work, and they are going to feel that, it's unpleasant. Now, hazardous is a different issue.
If I'm an owner, or if I'm in upper management, if I'm getting more and more and more millennials as a percentage as my employee base, and that's going to happen, like you said, over the next few years, more and more and more, there'll be a larger percentage. If I don't find a way for them to telecommunicate, so either by iPhone or by their Mac or their laptop, they can't do stuff from home or remote office or on the road. If I don't find a way for that to work in, am I going to really start missing out and start losing some pretty good employees?
I think that's probably the case if the work that the millennials sign up for is capable of being done remotely. If it's not capable of being done remotely, then what you need is to establish early on in the hiring process what this work is, be incredibly transparent and honest about the fact that these things are not possible, even though that they are. But what you want from them are their ideas about how do they make the work more efficient, more effective, and more pleasant for them when they get there. I'm a big believer that when we have employees, the worst thing you can do is not ask them what they think about your company. I tell the people who work for me all the time, look, we're really good at a lot of stuff, but there's some stuff that we just basically suck at. And if somebody doesn't tell me that we suck at it and doesn't tell us how to fix it, then we're always going to suck at it. And so,
you might as well be transparent up front, huh, Jerry?
You might as well tell them that, look, the baby is ugly. I can't change it. It's still my baby. But I want to try and put a nice dress on it. Or I want to put a nice pair of slacks on it. I want to do something to get this to where it's okay with you. The thing that most people want is they want somebody who really cares about them. And the millennials work like crazy if they believe in you and they believe in your purpose. And so I don't think that, the concept of having to have telecommuting as an option is a deal breaker. What is a deal breaker is how you treat them. If you treat them like they're young, inexperienced, and not knowledgeable, then that's probably how they're going to act, and they're not going to stay long.
The guy that you talked to before me that booked your interview, Caleb, is my producer, and Caleb is a millennial, and he, of all the producers I've had, and I've had several, Caleb is the one who's most engaged on what we do, because I think to a greater extent, more than anybody else I've had, he takes ownership of the show. Do you find that the best of your 30 employees are the ones, might be millennials, might not, but they actually take some ownership of the company?
They do, but I also think it speaks to your leadership, because they can't take it if you don't give it. And they can't take it if you don't make them feel like it's okay for them to act and feel like an owner.
Yeah.
One of the biggest challenges that I face in my company is trying to get people to make decisions that they call me and they say, can I spend $200 on this development program? I say, look, I'm paying you an awful lot of money. Don't ask me if you can spend $200. If you're not going to bring your brain to work, don't come to work.
Yeah, because that's where an owner, his company starts slipping away from him. If you're having to make the decision on every nickel and dime thing, at the end of the day, you kind of sit there and look in the mirror and go, "Why do I have those other guys here?"
Yeah, I tell all my employees, look, I want you to make a decision. My old football coach used to say to me, Acuff, do something even if it's wrong.
Yeah.
And oftentimes I was wrong. But I tell them, I say, look, I promise you this. I will never be mad at you for making a decision. I will be mad at you for making that decision again after I've told you not to.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm trying to educate you the first time as to why this is not a good deal for our business.
Well, and education happens on both sides of that equation. Education happens on the side of the employer and the employee, and that's probably when everybody grows. Jerry, I got to run. I hate the clock, but I got to get out of here. I tell you what, I'll have Caleb. I'll make sure that we link up so people know how to follow you and see what's going on in your life, and we'll certainly reference all the articles that we get of you. But for being on today, Jerry, thanks so much, man. I appreciate it.
All right, Pat. Thank you.